What is going on, guys? So I am currently fighting, trying to upload the last video you guys saw that went up Monday. Today is Monday, hoping it can go up. It's like 10 a.m. and I'm currently fighting uploading it because it just doesn't want to process on YouTube. Love when that happens. Anywho, today we're gonna be cleaning up the garage. Now let me show you guys where we left off with the subframe. This is where we are with the subframe. As you guys can see, super bare. I let it rain on it overnight and it actually cleaned it up pretty well. Got a lot of the mud and junk off and it doesn't look too bad. Now in the last video I asked you guys if I should be powder coating or if I should be painting the subframe. Did a little research. It seems like powder coating might not be too expensive. I'm gonna have to get some quotes from local powder coat people, get some measurements and see what they're gonna quote me, but hopefully it's not too expensive. As it sits right now, I really want to paint it myself, do it all myself, but if powder coat's gonna last longer and keep the car in better shape, then that's obviously the route to go. Also, let me know what you guys think of this new microphone setup. This is the same microphone that I used to motovlog, way smaller, way more efficient, and it seems more omnidirectional. So when I point the camera in this direction, it seems like it picks up my voice pretty well. And when I point the camera in this direction, it picks up my voice pretty well. Whereas the other one, I have to adjust audio levels. This one seems to work a lot better. So let me know what you guys think. I have to clean out the garage, and that's why that stuff's getting scrapped, to clean out space, get a little extra money. But this garage is an absolute mess. There's parts and wires and tools everywhere in here. I can't believe I let it get this bad again. Oh my gosh, this is gonna suck to clean. I need to get room for that Chevy small block for the Firebird build. Oh, I'm so excited for that build, guys. You have no idea. Already making progress faster than any of my other builds. And the CBR went pretty fast. The XL went slow as molasses. The KTM doesn't count. It's going so fast. I'm already down to a bare frame. I already have an engine sourced. I have ideas for the transmission. It's going along super well. And it was really my first car, was that black Firebird. Now the first motor I ever pulled was out of the blue Firebird, or the blue Trans Am that's sitting right next to it. First motor I've ever pulled. I was 14 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. I got to this point now where I'm 18 years old and I still have no idea what I'm doing, but I have a little bit more confidence. I do have somewhat of an idea as to what I'm doing mechanically. Not all the time, but I can usually figure stuff out. And I don't know, it's just cool. It was my first car. I worked on it a little bit. I count the Prelude as my first car, but the Firebird was really my first car. That was the first vehicle I ever owned, not counting dirt bikes. So I mean, I kind of stole it from my dad, if we're being honest, and just paid him what he paid. But it's just pretty cool to finally be working on after all these years. I've had it for like 5 years and I haven't touched it. My dad had it for over a decade and never touched it. He's happy to see something get done with it, and I'm happy to do something with it. But let's time lapse. Let's clean this garage and let's turn it from this absolute disaster into a nice clean disaster. Got the keys for the CBR. I absolutely love how that bike sounds. It sounds so stellar. Gonna move it out of the way. Gonna do a really thorough cleaning of the garage because when that Chevy comes in and we're building the Trans Am, I don't want to struggle. I don't want it to be a pain. So I'm thinking just gonna pull it out, sweep, clean out anything behind it, because at some point I will need to access the press to press out ball joints and whatnot. So don't want to have to fight that. If that doesn't sound like the best exhaust on the planet, then I don't know what does. It is now nighttime. But check this out. This is realistically as clean as this garage is gonna get, given that we have like all the stuff in here. Reorganized everything, put all the grinding stuff here, wiring stuff in here. I reorganized some of my shelves, got this all reorganized. Ignore the big Cobra 2 wing. We got all of our wrenches organized, all of them. Sockets are mostly where they should be. Everything is good. The hammer drawer is all set and stocked.
get someone to help you.
So, I just roasted the clutch. Son of a bitch. So, the Prelude is back, and one thing that I'm thinking is maybe it wasn't bled properly, and maybe the master wasn't set up perfectly. The car never had this problem before, and I will be getting into some more interesting stuff in just a second about the Firebird build. Stick with me for just a minute while I describe this. So basically, I never had this problem before. I went ahead, I did the master and slave, and now I had the problem. My guess is it wasn't bled perfectly, or some other issue related to it. I'm gonna go through the system, make sure it's all solid, there's no air, bleed it again, gravity bleed it, make it solid before I pull the trans and put a new clutch in it. So hopefully you can get by it cheap. It was burning the disc, but I'm thinking that by just towing it and not sending it home, I may have saved it. If I had opted to just send it and actually drive it home, I probably would have burnt through the rest of the disc. There's probably still a good amount of meat left considering it's a brand new disc. So I'm hoping I was able to save it. Maybe by bleeding it, we can fix it. But I did just order a part for the Firebird. Now, if you guys are new to the Firebird build series, it is a 1979 Pontiac Firebird with a Chevy small block swap going into it. And the trans has been officially decided as a 4L80E. If you don't know what the 4L80E is, it's a big upgrade from the Turbo 350 that was backing this motor, or backing this car originally. The Turbo 350 is a 3-speed automatic, and it's all manual, there's no electronics. The 4L80E is an electronic 4-speed, it's a 3-speed with overdrive, and the controller that I just picked up, which is the big part that I picked up, is the TCI EZ TCU. What a TCU is a transmission control unit. The transmission control unit is what is going to operate this transmission. It will give me full tunability over how hard it shifts, how fast it shifts, when it shifts. I believe you can tune in some sort of launch control. It's great if you have a big cam and a different torque converter. There's so many things I can do with that new TCU. It's gonna unlock a bunch more tuning capability, and I'm super excited for that. And that should be coming in a few days. I got it at a little bit of a discounted price because I found it brand new in the box, but someone bought it and then decided they didn't want to use a 4L80. Works for me as long as it comes in with all the wires and harness that I need. But that's going to be the trans setup. Going to be running the stock torque converter because I didn't realize torque converters were several $100s, like $600 for the one I want. So let me show you guys the trans, and that's what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be hopefully going to try to get the trans out. Let me show you what we're taking it out of. This is the donor. We originally thought this truck had a Turbo 400 in it for the trans, but this is actually a throttle body injected 350, and it's got a GM 4L80E 4-speed, so that's the trans we want. And these trees are in the way, and I'm gonna cut them down with this. This thing is actually really solid for its size and what it is. That's what I get a lot, at least. The trans isn't pretty, but it looks pretty solid. The fluid looks good, and I'm hoping the trans is actually good because I just spent $600 on different wiring bits and a tuner just to use it. So yeah, hopefully it's good. Gone. With the trees out of the way, laying in the snow here, if we go under the super rotted, very rotted box truck, we see our 4L80E, and it actually looks very dry. It's obviously a little oxidized because it's an older trans, but it does look solid-ish, and I'm hoping it's a good trans. I think it should be. So we're gonna start looking at what we need to do. Probably gonna pop the inspection panel off, take off the bolts that connect the flex plate to the torque converter. Probably gonna pop the plugs out of the motor so it rotates a bit easier by hand. And then we're gonna pop out the drive shaft because I'm gonna need to make a custom drive shaft, of course. And when the trans is out, we're gonna re-gasket the whole thing, paint it all up, make it look real pretty. But the plan right now is to actually get it out, and it looks like the inspection panel is actually pretty rotted. I shouldn't even be under this thing, if we're being honest. But it looks like the inspection panel is kind of rotted. Torque converter's a little rusty, but nothing I'm actually too scared of. But I'm excited. I'm very excited for this build because this is the first rear-wheel drive vehicle I've ever really built and sort of customized. So I'm excited to learn. I'm gonna learn a lot about just cars in general. Let's try to pop off that exhaust, and hopefully we can get this trans out in the next day or so. So it's pretty cold out, and I didn't film because last night I wasn't able to do much. All I was able to do was cut the exhaust off because it was in the way. It was right under the trans. What we're doing now, I got the inspection panel off. I had to use the breaker bar. That thing was super stuck on there, but I got it, kind of pushed it out of the way, undid the starter, got the and then put the starter back in. I got one of the torque converter bolts out from the flex plate. The problem is I'm trying to get to the other ones, but I can't rotate the motor. It's either seized or something. It's just not rotating by hand. So I'm gonna actually see if we can turn the motor over with the starter. Got a battery charging right now. Got jumper cables over there. This thing right here is known as the D catalytic convertinator or the D drive shaftinator, and it just did the latter of the two. The drive shaft in the box truck has been cut off. Gotta grab a drain pan, pull the drive shaft out, and let me show you guys where we are, because I think we're making progress. That or we're just destroying a rotted box truck, but progress is progress. Totally forgot to give you guys an update. I just pulled the dipstick tube and bracket. The bell housing bolts seem to come right off, and so do the cross member bolts. The cross member on this car is super solid, so I'm hoping I can use that and morph my other cross member into one that works for the Firebird. Excuse me. We've been trying to reach you about your vehicle's extended warranty. So I fought the trans for a little bit, but it looks like the dowel pins, because it's a steel pin and an aluminum trans, it looks like the steel kind of swelled up. It looks like the steel pin swelled up, causing the transmission to get stuck to the engine. So I'm letting it sit for the night. In this video, we will have the trans out. Right now, we're gonna go pick up a 10-gallon fuel cell and a small block 350, the engine we're using for this build. We're taking the old Jeep Wrangler. Hopefully the engine fits in the back and I can fit the 10-gallon cell in the passenger seat. But pretty stoked to finally get the engine. Probably won't be taking it out of the Jeep until tomorrow morning. This video will probably be going up on a Saturday. I apologize again for not uploading Wednesday or Friday, but I think I'm going to be switching to a less scheduled upload and rather just make good content that comes out when it comes out, rather than trying to force a garbage video down your guys' throats. So let's take the old Wrangler YJ and go get an engine. So last night we grabbed the engine and the fuel cell. Fuel cell sitting right over there. Shout out Mike for the fuel cell, I appreciate it. I had a problem with the Jeep last night. I was driving home from a friend's house and the headlights just randomly shut off. This has happened once before and it doesn't really happen that often. That was, again, it's only happened twice over 1,000 miles. Now the headlights will start to flicker, and then if I turn on the hazards and press my brake pedal at the same time, then the hazards stay on. Really weird. And I checked out the battery terminals. The ground cable is not the prettiest, so I'm gonna replace that later today. And it might also be my high beam or my dimmer switch. Again, I'm not entirely sure what the issue is. Pretty annoying. And one thing that the Jeep came with when I bought it was these lights. And I decided, after trying to unbend the bumper, which, I mean, it worked. It's definitely straighter than it was. I decided to put the lights on, wiring them up right now. If we go inside the Jeep, as you can see, I have that interior trim piece removed. And there's the engine. I'm just wiring in those lights now. Gonna try to make it look, it's gonna look cool, but it's also gonna make it so I can see at night if the lights ever do decide to stop working again, until I can figure out what the actual issue is. It's just kind of annoying not knowing what it is, but we have some ideas, so it's just a matter of figuring it out and seeing what's up. 3 days of work, blood, sweat, tears, and just about every other fluid my body can emit. But the trans sitting on a 2009 Benny's sled is here. Not only is the trans finally out of the box truck, which we've been fighting for the last, I would say 2 days, realistically 2 days worth of work. But we've been fighting it for 3 because I had to cut the exhaust the first day, but it wasn't a full day, so I won't count. So 2 days of work, and it is in really good shape. There's no shaft play to worry about. It shifts fine. Everything feels really good. It might need some speed sensors just because they're all gummed up and nasty, but I can always try cleaning them. Holy crap, that was a pain. Now, we did also get the motor on the stand, and I'll show that to you guys in a second. Let me show you how we got this transmission out. It wasn't easy, and there's 2 ways to really remove an automatic transmission. You can either pull it straight back without unbolting the torque converter at the flywheel, and then leave the torque converter on the engine. That's one way. That's what you have to do if the motor's seized. Or you can unbolt it, rotate the motor, unbolt it, you know, follow that process, and then you don't have to pull the trans super far back, just a little bit. We tried to do it the second way, the improper way, the first time, and we couldn't get it to budge, so let some oil sit inside these cylinders overnight, pulled the plugs, and we were able to free the motor and get it rotating. I think the rings were just stuck to the cylinder wall. So now the motor rotates actually pretty nice. Once we got that all situated, we were able to unbolt the flex plate, the torque converter from the flex plate, and the torque converter is in good condition. And that's all that really matters, because they are way more expensive than I thought they would be. So we have the trans, and that really allowed us to jack up the engine then, separate it from the trans, gave us a little gap, pried at the gap, got it out. This is just the inspection panel. It doesn't matter, but there's like literally no shaft play, super solid trans. Very happy for that. That's like an $800+ transmission if I had to buy one. So I'm glad I got mine for free. Again, guys, this is the GM4L80E. It's a 4-speed electronically controlled, and that's why I have the TCI Easy TCU trans controller unit, and that's just so I can control this however I want through a custom tuner thing. So I'm gonna head over to the box truck I pulled this out of and show you guys how we got it out, because it's a little unorthodox, but if it's stupid and it works, then it isn't stupid. All the bits of the box truck that I had to pull out, and we took the floor out. Good God, there's my torque converter. That thing's massive, and more tools in here. I still have to do all the cleanup. I'm not excited about that, but I am excited that the trans is off. This took a good bit of work, and then we actually had the cherry picker arm coming in through here, picked the trans up, spun it, and then we just picked up the trans and pulled it out, put it on a sled, dragged it around the property, put it in the driveway, got to put it in the garage, of course. The plan now is to clean up the transmission. I'm super stoked to finally have it. It was a journey, and I mean, you guys saw some of the clips where I was laying under this box truck. Like, this is how much space I had between the box truck and like me. Like, there's no space. There's maybe 1.5 feet, and like you guys can see, the body is literally separating from the box. It's cracked all the way up. So it wasn't exactly the safest thing I've ever done, but it's over with. I have to drain this huge bucket of ATF into something. Got to clean up all my tools, but I'm obviously not going to show that on camera. I don't think anyone really wants to watch that. I mean, if you do, let me know, but I don't think you do. So I kind of turned the garage into a mess again. There's tools everywhere. That doesn't matter. This is the new engine. Now, if you guys are curious and want to look for yourself, there's the block number. It's 140-10207. This motor came out of an early 80s to mid 80s box truck, and I did a little research on this block number just because I was curious about, you know, what did this block come in. It's a 4-bolt main Chevy 350. This particular engine also came in the Corvette. The only difference between the Corvette and this engine are the heads and the cam. This one has a Summit cam. I'll put the specs on screen now. It's pretty much the biggest cam you can run, with the largest lobe separation angle, which gives it the chop. It's the biggest one you can run without changing out your stall. So this should be pretty decent. They make about 230 stock. Now, through the cam, the intake, the carb, maybe 250, 260, maybe a bit more. But I'm gonna be redoing everything up here on the top of the motor, because I'm gonna be running the Holley Sniper EFI to get tunable fuel injection. That's gonna be really, really sick. But this is the motor, and it's ready to go. It ran just like this. Of course, I got to put my mechanical fuel pump back on, and I got to get an air filter on it, but it's sitting here on the motor stand, ready to go. Got to do a little bit of cleaning of it, but I'm not going to be running it like this. I'm going to be painting it, changing out a bunch of stuff. Of course, like I said, the Sniper EFI, but this is the motor. This is the powertrain we're going to be using for the build. Now, in the future, later down the road, my end goal would be to put a 383 stroker, aluminum heads, with 202s on it. 202 is referring to the size of the valve. But if it's a 202 intake and a 160 exhaust valve, basically it means it's just taking in more air, and then I'll run a 64cc combustion chamber, so it's smaller, taking in more air and compressing it into a smaller area. Big compression, no boost, nothing that. I might run nitrous when I get the forged internal bottom end and I do the 383 stroker. I think a little 150 shot would be fun to dance around with, but plan right now is to drive this car in less than 3 weeks. How on earth am I gonna go from having a trans in the driveway over there and a motor right here with a car that has no wheels to driving in 3 weeks? The current idea, and this may seem to make sense to some of you, it may not make sense to some of you, I'm just going to, I don't want to say hack it together, but I'm gonna hack it together. I'm gonna just put the motor in, make my trans subframe. I'm not gonna paint anything, I'm not gonna refinish any of the bolts. I'm just gonna put it together, start it, and drive it down the road. I'm gonna weld my own drive shaft. Some pretty ghetto stuff. Now, you can make your own drive shaft, but I can't balance it, so I'm gonna have one made. But I'm gonna make my own for the quick little test ride. I'm gonna drive it one time. I'm gonna put the motor, the trans in, go down the road, give it some brakes, of course. And that's just sort of to prove to myself that the trans works. So before I start dumping money into painting it and painting everything else, gotta make sure the trans works, gotta make sure the motor works and runs healthy. I just wanna make sure everything works in unison and works well. Make sure the chassis is not too twisted or about to fall apart completely. And yeah, I'm gonna do that one little test ride, and then that's it. It's gonna come back in, gonna pull the subframe back out from underneath it, motor, trans comes out, everything comes back out, everything comes apart. This is going to be a SEMA build quality. Quote me on that. So in this video, we got the motor, we got the trans, we put some lights on the Jeep, and now we have the drivetrain situated for the Firebird. I'm super excited for that. I know it was a longer video for sure, and it started off as just me cleaning out the garage. I wasn't sure where I was even going to go with the video. I certainly didn't think that by the end of this weekend I would have a motor and trans, but we do. And if you guys are excited for the Firebird build to continue, go ahead. Make sure you like the video. I want to hear what you guys are thinking. What do you think I should do with this Firebird? I'm planning on bringing it in the modern era. In the end, not immediately, I'm going to do the Ford 9-inch rear end posi or limited slip diff with disc brakes, independent 4-link suspension. Get rid of those leaf springs, but that's obviously way down the road. If you guys liked it, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, because I upload when I upload. That's another thing I'm going to talk about in a separate video. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Told my brothers one day we gon' make it. We just gotta grind for that paycheck. Mama told me one day I'll be famous. Remember when she used to say she hate this? Back then they would laugh when I say shit. Now I'm inside all them people's playlists. So one day I'll be stomping.